much information is too much information? People have just pictures on their Facebook profiles or their dating profiles, but do we really know them? We have the data, but do we have the insight? That's what we're here today to tell you, and basically speak about which groups to market to know if you will be having a soulmate at the end of being on OkCupid. I'm Swathi, and I have my teammates here with me, Sam and Jay.
Through our analysis, we developed a keener understanding of the entire OkCupid user base as well as subsegments, and to capitalize on these insights in an actionable way for OkCupid's marketing. Next. We have a large and pretty rich data set with a total of 59,946 user profiles distributed over the San Francisco region. We also use supplementary data in our analysis, census data, location data, to examine how dating variables and users distribute geographically. Next. As an entry point into the processing of our data, we globally assessed what the users actually provided in terms of data on their profiles in order to assess how we might want to address any missing values in our data set. So we plotted the number of NA values across all the parameters available to us for entry on user profiles. And NA values indicate that either the user decided not to include the information on their profile, or that there was a data entry or capture error. Of note, the variables in green are fields that are required by the OkCupid interface. However, height and speaks have non-zero percentage of missing values. So we'll be touching base with the software team to determine if this was the result of a glitch or a data capture error. But the variables of status, sex, orientation, location, the last time online, and age, those are all required fields. There are no missing data. All the other fields are not required and needed to be addressed during our cleaning and pre-processing of the data. Interestingly, income in purple was the least frequently included field on user profiles, with over 80% of all the users in our data set declining to respond. Because of this, as a preliminary insight, we want to propose a different way to engage users around the topic of income, allowing users to instead match and engage by their lifestyle or spending habits, since it does seem that there is a stigma for most people about talking about their income explicitly. And we are confident that allowing users to match by these other parameters that are not direct to income could improve the matching experience for our users. Next.
So, exploratory data analysis. What does this mean? Do we even care right now? But I'm just going to quickly run through this. It's just basically a way of saying it's a state of mind for us to just see if there's any outcomes that we want, try and see if there's a way to get to it. Some of them will be dead ends, and some of them, we can actually give you some insights about. And that's what it essentially is. But Sema, this is fun to talk about, not really, but it's the same process as EDA, and it's us taking, sampling, exploring, modifying the data, modeling the data, and then presenting to you guys about what makes the best sense as a way forward to market to categories and groups in the market today.
So at OkCupid, you guys have amassed large database of information, and that's great. But it also has its downsides. So what we did was we took the information, we cleaned it up, and we try to optimize it for our model. Outliers matter. Why? Because these observations that lie at an abnormal distance from our values can greatly influence our model. And examining the data for unusual observations is what we did to remove this mass amount of data in good practice to optimize any models in the future. Furthermore, it's best practice to review variables from missing data and determine whether to remove these values or replace them. So in this case, we use some functions to optimize variables such as age, income, and height. Next. Feature engineering. That sounds like a big word. Without getting too technical, it's a process of using domain knowledge, which is what we heavily relied on in our analysis, of the data to reduce the variables and streamline this analysis to make our algorithms work. So in this case, we attempted to reduce variable redundancy and multicollinearity by conducting analysis using some dummy variables and correlation plotting through heat maps to really give us insight on what variables to ignore, such as drugs or smoking, and what other variables to really focus on. Next. Feature enrichment is another process that we went through technically to merge some third-party data from some external authoritative sources to really enhance our data for informed decisions. So in this case, we use supplemental location data from the US Census Bureau to enrich our data set for deeper analysis. We use some tools like leaflet functions, et cetera, to create a visual map of OkCupid users, providing geographic insight of where they reside and how to best recommend to target these user segments. Next.
Having addressed the topic of outliers and missing values, we took a deeper dive into disclosure of income by the OkCupid users. We used our data cleaning toolbox to look specifically at users who did answer the income question, and the results were pretty interesting. The median reported user income was $50,000 on the platform, while the reported mean income was over $100,000. The latter appears to be due to many observed outliers in the high end of income. A significant number of our users reported million-dollar annual incomes, for example. So comparing the median in our data set to the median adult income annually in San Francisco, we see that the median in our data set is significantly lower. This could mean that OkCupid users earn less, that the lower earners on our platform report their income more frequently, or a combination of these factors. If we're considering the reported values to be truthful, then we're noting a very high income diversity in our user population, which will require us to target distinct income groups in marketing and advertising separately. Next. We also performed data reduction of both age and income to plot income buckets by age group in our user profile pool. Interestingly, on the left, you see that incomes from 100,000 to 200,000 annually kind of overwhelm the data and are reported by far the most frequently. Therefore, we've decided to perform some filtering on the right to take a closer look at our other income groups. Filtering means removing some of the observations to focus our attention better. It's like zooming or panning, and assists in identifying other subgroups. The results of this filtering show a significant concordance between young age and the lowest income bracket, which is 0 to 30,000 in this analysis. We did not normalize unreported income values, the 80% that were not reported, though this is a choice we could have made. Normalization is helpful when looking at many different variables at once, but also ultimately causes us to underestimate the variability in a parameter like income, which is highly variable. But these data show that we may want to target users in the lower age range who also have lower income given the prevalence of this population. Next. We also looked at attitudes surrounding offspring or children by gender. We noted that the majority of users who completed the offsprings field, which was optional, only indicated whether they had kids, with also a minority reporting preferences about children, given that this is an open-ended field. However, most frequently, users simply reported that they don't have kids. They don't utilize the full potential of this field to express their preferences. As our next step to this, we wanted to reduce these data to analyze the breakdown of users with versus without kids, given that this is highly actionable for marketing purposes. Next. When we reduced the data and took a more targeted look at male versus female users who have and don't have kids, we noted that females were much more likely to report that they have kids than males, specifically also noting that females are a minority of our user profile pool, but they still make up the majority of users who have kids. When we looked at user response to the offspring question by gender, a significantly higher percentage of females responded than males. So males are less likely to be inclined to include information regarding child preferences on their profile. Next.
So when you look at the whole data set as a whole, and you're looking at the users, these people who've chosen to put their preferences on the OkCupid site, they're giving us a peek into their mind, and they're giving us a kind of a view about what they want when they're looking at potential dating partners. So one of the things that matters is how they think about themselves and how they feel about themselves, which is where your body type, your body image comes into play. So when we looked at the data set, we found that since a huge chunk of the data set is men, that is right off the bat a category, a market that is very important to us at OkCupid, and we want to make sure that we are providing a value add to them. That being said, most of the men in the data set have responded and said that just thinking about themselves, they are more settled in to how good they feel about themselves and how confident they are. But that could also be a result of a self-bias that most of us have as humans. But more often than not, just having the confidence to put yourself out there, that would mean that we could go ahead and market OkCupid as a place where they would go ahead and find potential life partners. On the other side, contrastingly, women are more self-disparaging about how they feel and their body type and image, which means that maybe physical appearance is not something that right off the bat catches their eye when they're looking at profiles. So maybe a picture is not going to do much for them as much as it is their other preferences that they've listed in their profile, the men. So that's a good marketing insight takeaway that we could take from here, that men would be more receptive to being marketed as someone who matches their physical preferences and expectations, and they're also, like I said, the bigger category in the data set, whereas women, we would like to play to their other preferences and what they want and expect in a life partner.
Fantastic. So those are three really good insights. Now, our final insight and led us to examine another optimal segment within the larger population of our data set. By looking at the charts here, you can instantly see some insights that stand out right away. First, we examined individually three key variables. The first one being age range. It's really relevant as most records lie for both sexes between the ages of 20 to 40. Secondly, most profiles drink socially, and this could correlate well with other variables to pinpoint in our target variables. We took it further by analyzing the pets variable as a population, which was greatly leaning towards those who liked or either had or liked a dog or a cat. So based on our domain expertise, we surmise that people who like or have pets generally may be prone to yearn and seek out relationships, and those who drink socially are more inclined to go to bars, gatherings, whereby they also seek new relationships. Next, we review the plot and plotted each variable for exploratory purposes and then consolidated the values accordingly to reduce these values to get a better perspective. So in our drinks analysis, we grouped those who drink often, socially, or very often into a new drinks variable, and we consolidate those who had or liked dogs or cats into a variable called pets. Next. We conducted a simple box plot analysis of gender and their preferences toward drinking and pets. And here is what we see: a considerable population of values amongst both sexes who like the bubbly and the furry critters. Next. So after filtering and consolidating the variables, we finally integrated the variables of sex, drinks, and pets together into one analysis to depict an ideal target market segment. As you can see by this bar plot, OkCupid's marketing team cannot go wrong by targeting this ideal customer microsegment of singles who like to drink and who like pets. Next.
So what do we look at when we are having 40-hour and 50-hour work weeks? We want to come back home, we want to relax, we want to chill with a person that we like spending time with, and we want to basically match with somebody who has the similar preferences as we do, who brings a generally a kind of brightness to our life and who makes our heartbeat go and pump faster. So looking at the data set, we can clearly say that the basic preferences that we all have, they're all same. We want somebody who has the same kind of like body image preferences that we do. Age is something that's very important when we're looking at a partner, a life partner and a soulmate. The income bracket you're in and the kind of social structure you belong to. Do you want kids? Do you not want kids? Do you like to socially mingle? Do you want pets? How socially attractive are you? And I feel like we are providing enough information with this data set to make that a marketable idea today. Thank you.